I hate to say this, but I was just like watching a video on the very famous comedian Jerry Lewis. Jerry was famous for raising all the money for the children with disabilities. He had, I mean, people loved him. I mean, he was the most funniest man on earth. What a funny man. The thing is, though, in his own personal life with his own family, just from what I've been hearing on the videos from his own children, he had five children. His first wife just wasn't a happy environment. They claim, his children claim, you know, I'm not claiming it. They're claiming it that his behavior was always unpredictable. One of the kids said he hit him with a belt. He sometimes came home drunk, and they said it was a very emotional, hard house to live in. There was a lot of emotional damage, and the result was, I guess, when Jerry Lewis got divorced from his first wife, this is their mom. They worried about her well being. He didn't want to leave her anything. He didn't want to leave her any money. A very similar situation happened in my family. Very, very similar situation. When my parents got divorced, my father basically didn't want to leave my mother any money. And my father, listen, may he rest in peace. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him. God bless him. But I'm just saying the facts. And my mother, for some reason, agreed to sign a divorce settlement where she didn't get anything. I mean, I know it's hard to believe. I know people were I don't know if it was out of fear. It's anyone's guess why she would do this, but she did it. And the thing is, me and my father kind of, unfortunately, we never really got along on that issue. And I obviously went to my mother's defense. I told him many times. I said to him, Dad, you got to do the right thing for my mother. You got to leave her some sort of money. She's been married to you for over 40 years. That resulted, in him putting me in jail. Like he made up a story. My mother, when she left him, my mother moved in with me, and he made up a story that I was at his house, that I wanted to, I don't know, attack or kill him or something. And the thing is, I live in Staten Island. He lives in Brooklyn. And obviously, this was a made up story. He was just mad that my mother left him and moved in with me. He was very, very angry over that. And he made up this story. And so when the police came to I live in Staten Island. Like, when he filed this report, the police immediately responded. Because I said, when was this report filed? They said like 5 minutes ago. So I was like, how did I just get from Brooklyn, New York in 5 minutes to all the way to the south side of Staten Island? That's right by New Jersey. I said, how is that possible? He's claiming I was in front of his house, right? How did I get back home so fast? He's like, they knew it was all bullshit. I saw it in the cop's face. They're like, we have to detain you. I'm like, but on what grounds? See, I never do this. I said, on what grounds? Do you have a witness? Do you have evidence? Do you have anybody corroborating the story? They said, we don't need it. When someone is a senior citizen, we take their word, and if their lives are in danger, we have the right to detain you. I said, without no evidence? They said, yes. So they put me in handcuffs, arrested me, and I ended up spending 24 hours at Brooklyn Central. Now, my father, he was an emotionally damaged man. May he rest in peace, okay? After I got out of jail, he calls me up crying, and, he was like, I had all the charges dropped on you. Everything. I called up the district attorney. So I'm like, there shouldn't have been any charges on me. I didn't do anything to you. He goes, listen, that's what a father does. He'd be like, he was a guy. Look, the guy had some issues. It's something with this Jerry Lewis story. It just touched me. But I will say this about my father. Okay, I will say something good. Okay, he left all of his money to his grandchildren. Okay, he intentionally set up his will. People, even though there's evidence about this, it's all online. It's all proof. I still have these lunatics. There are these psychos on the internet who keep saying to me that I received an inheritance. My father chose, okay, to leave all of his money in trust for his grandchildren, and I will give him that. Listen, God bless him for that. because he did a wonderful thing. I mean, me and my mom, we kind of knew it wasn't going to work out, but my grandchildren, my children will benefit greatly from my father, and for that, I do love and I do respect him very much for that. In the case of Jerry Lewis, he didn't even do that. Like, not only did he not leave any money for his children or for his wife, nothing. He wasn't not a penny. Guy was worth like over $50 million. He didn't even leave any money for the grandkids. Now that's just being, I'm sorry, that's being a piece of garbage, man. Like, look, I understand, okay, to a certain degree, I really do. Fathers and sons sometimes don't get along. Husbands and wives don't get along. But grandfathers and grandkids not getting along, no, that's just absurd to me. That is absurd. And that's a real disgrace, especially from a man who raised all this money for children. I mean, you want to talk about it? People sometimes call me a narcissist. That sounds like a narcissist. That sounds like someone really messed up in the head. The funny thing is, my father did that stuff too. He was very much involved with children. He helped. He really did. God bless him. He helped all the children in the Ronald McDonald House. We used to go. I used to go with him, and he would donate. I remember one time he donated all these like turkeys. It was Thanksgiving, and he took all the kids to Coney Island on the bus and on the right. He paid for everything. He paid for everything with the children with cancer, and I don't know. I sometimes see people who have like a certain type of personality, whether it be a controlling personality, a narcissistic, whatever you want to call it, a narcissistic personality, and they tend to not be good in their own families. I notice they tend to do things like this. They tend to go outside of their own families and, make all types of efforts to help other children, other families do all types of good deeds. And I don't know if there's a connection with my father and Jerry Lewis, but all I can tell you is that something hit home for me. Something hit home for me when I was just hearing how Jerry Lewis didn't leave any of his 5 children any money, and he didn't leave his first wife any money. It's just something hit home. But I will say there's a difference between Jerry Lewis and my father. My father left all of his money to his grandchildren. So he's the better man than Jerry Lewis is. I will say that. My father is the better man because he worried about his grandchildren. Jerry Lewis didn't even worry about his grandchildren. That's just absolutely terrible. May God forgive him. Have mercy on us all. You can't forget about your grandkids. You can never forget about your grandchildren.